Okay, ready to go?
I'm good.
Okay, it is, I guess, 3 minutes after 11, on my watch, and I'm going to call a meeting to order. We have a quorum. Hopefully Bob Geppert will be joining us later. As those of you who had the opportunity to read my CDD meeting report, I had agreed with Bill Guy that we would bring forward the issue of fire impact fee credits so we could make a decision and bring that back to the board's next meeting on the 5th of May. So I've invited Pat Hayes here, who is the expert on this subject and also the person who is doing the sale of the fire impact fee credits for the board. And Pat, if you would come up to the microphone, introduce yourself, and just give us a little, very short background on what, for some people, what the fire impact fee credits are and how they're used.
Impact fee credits were created in the late 80s due to a lawsuit by Circle K. Lee County here was requiring frontage road land donations without compensation. So the county created impact fee credits to offset the taking. And as we went along, I ended up with some credits for the metro extension between Daniels and 6 Mile. I owned some land there at the time. So I wasn't going to build anything with them, the credits. You have to use your impact fee credits when you pull a permit if you're going to use the credits. So I found out that they were readily marketable and saleable at a discount to builders out there that were pulling permits, and we kind of lobbied and got the county to agree to change the ordinance about 1991 where we could transfer impact fee credits that were created. Credits are created either by donating, there's different kind of impact fees, there's road, school, fire, so on. So in this case, these credits were given to Westinghouse WCI when they did gateway for the fire stations or the land or the fire trucks, whatever they donated as part of the DRI. And they got so many credits. Those credits are transferable, and we're in the process of selling them. That's the good news. The kind of the bad news is the fire. When it comes to selling credits, the bad news is the fire single-family rate that's assessed against all single-family permits is $321 a house. So if you do the math right now, and I'm looking at the numbers that's in there in the expiration date, and I've been selling them for close to a couple years now for the board, reaching out to every builder that's in the city. These are all good, by the way, in the city limits of Fort Myers. I can't go anywhere else with them to sell them. That's all only place they're transferable. So anything within inside those city limits, any project, commercial, residential, that is assessed the fire impact fees, they're potential buyer. So, you know, I also sell road credits and I sell school credits at this time in the city and as well as in the county. So I approached all my clients who are everyone, Pulte, Lennar, D.R. Horton, Toll Brothers, anybody that's in the city stock with all their projects. And some of the guys bought. I mean, some of the builders, D.R. Horton, I've been selling fire credits to, some to Lennar, some to GL Homes was what I'd like to do. I've got several of these builders out here now that for the 20% discount we're offering, which is $64 a house, don't want to fool with the accounting for that savings. And I've tried, some of them will, some of them won't. But, you know, as I started doing the math on this thing and time and what we've been selling, you know, I offer these credits out here, not at a one at a time, but at, say, on a quarterly, say every 3 or 4 months, they do a projection. They say, okay, we're doing 20 single family and 15 multifamily. And then I'll say, okay, that equals this. You make the check out, and I'm offering a 20% discount. I would like to be able first of all, to have a little bit more leeway to negotiate. In March, Richard Ark and GL Homes are doing Marina Bay, which is the city of Fort Myers. Richard, I've sold him all kinds of road credits. In Collier, I've sold the credits for me. They also have school credits in the city, which I'm selling. They're excess, so GL's actually selling their school credits because they got more than they're going to use for Marina Bay. I asked him what it would take for him to buy some credits. He said, I'll tell you what, Pat, he goes, you double your discount, go to 40%, I'll take 153 houses right now. That was in March. Well, and I mean, they're permitting an average of 6 a week, 5, 6 a week, down there 20 a month, 18, 20 a month. So every month we wait, it's another 20 we're not selling. There's definitely a finite demand in the sense that things are going to continue growing. But when you look at the city of Fort Myers and what they've got planned and their land, now's the time to sell. I mean, with the projects that are in the city, it's going to be tough to duplicate that amount of single family and that amount of multifamily in the years to come. I mean, they're talking about building high rises and doing everything downtown, but I'm talking about the builders that are in there building with. You've got Linsford, which is D.R. Horton. You've got Watermark, which is Neal Communities, which we've sold some to. So what I'd like to do is try to bring Pulte and GL on board and try to discount these credits where I can pick up the volume so we can try to get out of these in 9 years. And there's some options there, maybe try to extend them if we can't, or look at 9 years. That seems like a long time, but in the next 9 years, we hope that the real estate market's going to stay strong and healthy, steady for the next 9 years. But it kind of goes like this. So in 2012 and 11 and 10, we weren't selling many impact fee credits because there wasn't many.
Let me ask, so the net benefit to the builder is the amount of the discount?
Yes, that's all it is, instead of paying $1.
It's the $64 at this point.
It's the $64 at this point. I'm trying to get it to $100, $120. I mean, just something where each one, I probably sold 3 or 4 million, I'm guessing, worth of road credits for the district in the 90s here. When I think Jim Ward was running the district at the time. We did some, this was transportation credits, road credits. I mean, we did the arena. We had some big, Walmart out in Lehigh. We had some big sales. These were county too, which made it a lot better than the city, a lot more marketable.
Right. Okay. Well, do people have questions of Pat? Yeah, go ahead, Jan.
I apologize.
No,
I
not
have
at
a lot
all, not at all.
Is there a difference in the cost between fire impact fees, road fees, school
Yes, a big
credits?
difference. The roads right now for a single family are right close to $3,000, almost 10 times more, the assessment. Schools are $2,032 per single family. Fire is $321.
So that's the reason that the
I
others.
mean, if there were
are so much more
3,000, we'd
sellable.
already be,
Yeah.
I'd be bringing money in right now.
Yeah.
So Pat, if I can ask, when an individual buys a home, we're responsible for paying the builder for the impact fees. And the benefit to the builder is the discount, if you will, on all of these, or the?
Well, it would depend. I mean, existing home out there has no impact fees, or they've already paid.
Right, no, a new home.
But the builder, let's say GL Homes over in Marina Bay, they're going to take advantage of the discount, not the ultimate buyer, okay? The ultimate buyer's gonna pay whatever the
Right,
price
pay the
is, and
full-
whether those impact fees is on the line or not, I don't know, but more than likely, the builders are the ones that are actually,
So it's in the purchase
benefit.
price for the homeowner, but
some, and I can't really say, I'm sure, more than likely, yes, because when the county, I mean, I was one of the only people in the real estate industry, of course, that was against the reduction that we've had a few years ago. You may remember that the county put a reduction in, and if they would have done it in 2007, it would have been one thing, when there was, when everything was just flat. But they waited until we started picking up again. And of course, let's just take Lennar. Lennar was saving millions of dollars. Well, do you think they were paying their subs any extra? No. Were they saving the homeowner? No. The stockholders out in wherever they are were, so that was my, and, I like the commissioners that are in there now, but we butted heads, and that was that.
Where does the money, once you sell where does it go? Directly to the CDD budget, of which we would then have access to through Pelican Preserve?
Yes, sir. I mean,
He wouldn't
this
know
is
that,
all.
but yes, and as a matter of fact.
Well, I'm asking the board. us.
Yes.
Well, you'll see on here that we budgeted for, on the income side, I've lost, I guess, but, well, I'm sorry. If you look at what Nancy just sent out, which is our, what we've done year to date, there's a line on there for fire impact fees.
Because we've
In our-
received some
because
credit.
We've been receiving
We've been
these
receiving
credits.
credit.
Yeah.
Through October through February 16, we've received 20,746.
I'd like to multiply that. I have, at this point in time, just what the numbers are, okay, the numbers, there's $1.4 million approximately on account right there in fire impact fee credits now, approximately. That's what the number is. Also, the county every year adjusts your amount that's in there. They don't adjust the amount, they just give you a CPI, Consumer Price Index increase. That increase doesn't reflect in your balance. It's only good when somebody picks up a permit. That's when the CPI gets tallied. So what we do is if we sell $1 of these fire impact fee credits, we divide by that number and reduce the amount that gets transferred by the number, so we keep the increase. Other than that, if we gave them $1 for $1, they'd get the increase, the buyer. So what I'm saying, there's 22% right now, almost 22%. That is in addition to what you have on your account. So as I'm saying, right now, it's almost dollar for dollar. We're like 3% or 4% when you make the calculation that and then they're paying me 5% of whatever I bring in. So what I'm asking for now is to kind of take that into consideration and just say, look, I need to be able to sell $160,000 or $70,000 of this a year to get us to zero in 2025. And I haven't even been coming close to that. And the only way I can see to try to get close to it is take all the volume residential people, because that's where the volume is now. It's not in the commercial, it's in the residential. And going out and trying to see what works and sell these credits to the residential while they're building. Because, when Marina Bay runs out now, they're looking in the county for another project. So once they're done, they're done.
I think we understand.
I think we
that.
understand.
that.
Dave, let me ask you this, is it possible to have, if you will, volume discounts? In other words, if we just to throw something out, from, if they want 10 permits, we give them a 20% discount. If they want 50, we get them a 30% discount. If they want 150, we give them a 40% discount. Is that a tenable thing to do?
Well, I think it is, given it some thought, though. D.R. Horton, for instance, right now, as we speak today, they're gonna be calling me probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and they're gonna say, Pat, I need 30 houses or 15, 20 units in Linsford. And they've been paying 20%, right, straight across the board. They haven't been negotiating or anything. Now, I think we could do that by the numbers, but honestly, and this isn't, this is just the way business is, for me, is that when I need to be able to negotiate and have a ceiling where I don't have to come to a board meeting to make a deal.
Yeah.
Because, when
I
we're.
agree.
Well, that was exactly what I was kind of getting at. If we would set these things to say, this is the maximum you can give at these various
Yes,
levels.
yes.
And to give you, rather than having to have you come back here all the time, is to give you a setup that would.
I
that would
can't
allow you-
exceed, and if
It
I could.
can't
and-
exceed.
And if I could have a little flexibility from the standpoint if, you know, we've got good customers now, and so I take a 40% discount to GL.
Yeah.
And, you know, not too long, it comes back to my good customer that's been buying them at, about, you know, at 20%. So I would like to just think, okay, if I go out and negotiate, that I've gotta, you know, maybe I can go to 40, I might not have to. And I probably wouldn't have to, but if somebody's buying 50, 100, 200 units out there, I can just say 40%. Now, I don't have to do anything with the commercial credits at all. The commercial is, in the city's very limited. We did a J.J. Taylor distribution center, which is a pretty big project for the city, you know, that I think $6,500 was the total fire, you know, for that project, so.
Thoughts from the.
Well, I think one of the key things is what he said, he has to get to a volume of 109,000 per year.
Right, at
or
least.
he's never gonna sell them all.
Never selling them all.
So he's
Can
gotta
I-
take his expertise.
Yeah, can I interject? The history of these is somebody at the city, or possibly somebody here, but I trust it was probably somebody at the city, said, oh, fire credits need to, and so it was almost like found money. There was nobody here pressing the city for the fire credits, and that's for our firehouse that's
Right.
on Tree Line. So, in that sense, it was found money at the time, and I don't think we understood everything that Pat's explaining, about how small dollar and so forth everything was. And so, when we got them, whatever life they had, we were probably more than halfway through the period before they expired. Somebody had the forethought to go out and go to the county or the city or somebody and ask for an extension. So we have an extension. There's no guarantee we would ever get another one.
Another extension.
So, it's,
In light of that, it seems to me our target has to be that we wanna get rid of these by the time the expiration.
If anybody can get
When
it,
does the
I'm
extension
sorry.
expire?
Or as soon as we
Huh?
can.
When does the extension?
2025,
yeah.
April 1st of
So
2020.
only 9 years.
yeah, and so I would, my opinion is, I would give Pat not parameters at each level, but I would give him the maximum flexibility to make the best deal he could at the time. Because WCI is also selling fire
No,
credits in the market.
the
They're done?
WCI, they're not selling fire credits, they're using them. That's the only effect to us. We've got the only account. That's one thing, I mean, we have no competition
Oh,
from,
okay.
from other accounts.
Originally,
Well-
WCI apparently was
Well, and
selling.
I've sold all the credits for WCI
Okay.
into them, and so, you know, with
Okay.
Barry, I mean, they're using those credits now for their project.
Would really like to see WCI.
I'd like to see them
Yeah.
buy more.
Buy more,
Okay,
yeah.
yes, I
Yes.
would, but they have to use up what they got first, and probably they're gonna have enough where, and I believe they've got close to 200,000 in credits right now, maybe. I'm just guessing, somewhere in that.
They've
that-
got this new community that's in the city out here they're building.
Yes, yes, and it's 800 and some units total. But as I say, you know, they won't buy them until they run out of what they got.
They're still building in Pelican too.
Yes, yep.
By the tune of almost 1,000 homes.
Yeah, well, and I think yeah, is that city also?
Yes.
Back
Oh,
of
yes,
Pelican, yes,
absolutely.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
I
But,
like what Phil suggested with the parameters going up,
The
you know.
Do
step
we need
down?
a motion? Sure.
Well, we
Yeah,
will
we
need a
will.
motion because we may have to make a recommendation to the board.
But Pat's been selling these for a long time, and he
Yes.
knows the market, and I
Right.
just hate to tie his hands to a step down. If we just trust his judgment.
I agree.
Because like he said,
Do it.
if Lennar
Do it.
finds out he's out there peddling them at,
well, and I could
'Cause
give
they'll
a
know.
number, but you just never know what the number is. I mean, I
Well,
kind of.
if we gave you a max of 40, would that give you enough flexibility?
Listen, that gives me enough where I can go, I mean, if we see at the end of this,
Mhm.
I just sold probably $1 million worth of road credits for Barry, for WCI, that were 3 months away from expiring, and they didn't know about it, and they couldn't use them all. So we just, over the phone, said, okay, what's it gonna take to do that? And I said, well, for roads here, like 35%. And we sold them, so when it gets, 2 or 3 years down the road, or a year or two, let's revisit. I don't mind coming to the board meeting, but I just don't like, I can't do business at, other than 20% right now, and I kinda got my hands tied. And I was gonna ask April also to let me run with the forms, but that's not hurting anything, so I can do what I need to do there, and April's working fine, so.
Do I hear a motion to allow Pat to offer a maximum of 40% discount on the sale of fire credits?
And I would second that.
Okay, moved by Ron, seconded by Nancy.
Discussion.
Hmm?
Discussion.
Yeah, any further discussion?
Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Later.
If not.
You can ask me any question you want, and
I
it
don't
won't make me
understand this,
mad.
and I
not,
don't wanna
we-
take a lot of time asking.
Well, I always think of it as, for instance, the roads that were built here with impact fee credits, you'd be surprised how many roads were actually constructed in the county. You think the county's got the money to write the check for the land out there and buy the road right away. Well, Challenger, Winkler, Colonial Extension, Tree Line, Coconut Point, Coconut Vista, I can just keep on going, Metro.
Okay.
All of that was built, Three Oaks, it was all built with either the right-of-way donation credits or the actual construction, which you get credit for. If you want to build the road, the county will take that too. They don't have the money to write the check, nor does the fire department. But they do have a mechanism where they can make you feel like you're getting something. They'll give you some impact fee credits.
As
So
part of-
then, once you get those credits, then they call in, well, what do we have now? And, all the other brokers in my field always say, well, you're selling air. And I've always wanted to do an air rights deal, but that's kind of what this is. They just create, they don't have the money, this came from California, the big government capital, and kind of trickled to Florida, with impact fees to start with.
All right, so, any other questions of Pat? Further discussion? Yeah, Jan, if you have a question, go ahead.
How do we use the fire impact fee credits?
You
then?
build a house, or you build a
So who
commercial
benefits
building.
from buying these then?
Whoever's buying, or, for
The
instance.
homeowner's gonna get a
Pelican
credit?
Preserve?
No.
The builder.
No.
The
The builder
Well-
gets the credit.
Now, wait a minute,
builder-
let's just say that let's say you and I, let's say I'm the builder, no, let's say I'm the builder, and you're gonna hire me to build your house. And it's cost plus, and we sit down and I say, look, this is the deal, the door's gonna cost this, and the impact fees are this, okay? But I'll save you a little money there. Now, I've known some, I can name 2 or 3 builders that pass these credits. Tom Cook's one of them over in, Buckingham. He passes the credits on to the buyers. Every time I sell him a credit, that 20% goes, and they agree on a price on the house. But the way I'm selling them now, the homeowners haven't even bought the house yet. GL Homes is picking up 40 permits, and they're gonna build 38 specs, they only have
Well,
2 sold.
I get that the builders benefit.
Yes.
So why are we buying these and not
We're
WCI?
selling.
Well, they were given to us.
We're selling.
We're
They were
selling.
given to
Money.
us.
We are authorizing him
Him to sell
to
for
sell
us.
them. And
So
in
we
fact,
get
he's
the revenue.
already been authorized by the board.
Good,
by
thank
the
you.
CDD board.
Yeah, we're not
I was
buying
like,
any.
Why are we doing this for
Okay,
WCI?
so he's already been authorized by the CDD board to sell these, and the only question is, what parameters are we
Oh.
allowing him to sell them? And we get the benefit.
We benefit
We get
in
the
dollars when he sells.
When he sells them.
The
I'm
only
good.
other thing I might
third
add
the
is,
motion.
I don't know,
Okay.
well, I don't know how this, I've never really thought this through. I know some impact fees have expired. In the
Yeah.
city, for instance, the city is notorious for,
Yeah, Pat, I think
Okay.
we've kinda
Okay.
got it down.
okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And
I
and
have
we're good.
one quick
Yeah, sure,
question.
go ahead, Nancy.
How did we get all these credits?
WCI, part of the DRI, development order,
Built the
was
firehouse.
required to build the firehouse in the
Okay.
city.
Okay.
And so then the city did a quid pro Well, and gave them
us
all
some
these credits.
some credits.
And they appraised everything, and it was run
Okay.
through the system, and boom,
That's
that's
what
what
I
it is.
assumed, but I didn't
Yes,
know for sure
but
that.
that's the way it worked.
Yeah.
Accumulated all this
Okay.
money.
Any further questions or discussion, because we've got other things to get to here? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
I guess it's 6-0, because Bob
Bob
isn't here.
stepped out.
Yeah, Bob
Nobody
stepped
voted
out.
against me?
No. Pat,
Thank you all very
thank
much, I
you very much.
appreciate it, yes.
Sell it quick.
And anything, anytime anybody's got a question, I mean, or any thinking about, just, all they have to do is call me, so.
All right.
Now,
Thank
Pat,
you.
we make, this is a recommendation we make
Yes,
to
I
the
understand.
boards.
I'm not gonna start doing it today, but, I mean, I would like
Yeah.
to move it as fast as.
Well, we will present this at the May 5th,
And I'll
meeting.
be here at that also, and.
Okay.
May 6th, if it's May 5th we approved, on the 6th, I'll call Richard Arkin and see how many we're down to now, so.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
sounds
you.
good,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Pat. Okay. All right, we're ready to move on to the preliminary budget.
Okay.
All of you have copies of it.
All
Yeah.
right, I guess just start at the top line item and just
Yeah,
go through.
Nancy, before we do that, I'd just like to ask you a couple of questions about the construction of this thing.
Okay,
Number one, there was a kind of a hidden column, column O.
that was hidden when I got it, and it didn't.
Oh, so it's not meaningful?
No.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I
that's,
never unhid it.
I was trying to figure out.
That's her feet.
I was trying to figure out what that column meant. Okay, so that, we don't have to worry about that.
No, and
yeah.
once I'm done with this, I'm probably gonna try to work on trying to clean it up and make it.
Yeah.
Cause to me, the accounts are in a weird order,
Oh,
they don't
yeah.
match the order that the P
Yeah.
and L is in, and so,
Yeah.
like, I'm constantly jumping back and forth, so.
Yeah.
But this,
And
I think it's because accounts got added and.
I'm sure we're gonna
subtracted.
be calling on Sarah here frequently
Oh, yeah.
too, as we
Yeah.
discuss this.
So- So,
Okay, so I understand that.
So I'll start out by saying that, I did talk to Sarah about a lot of things, a
Oh,
lot of
I'm
it-
sorry, may I ask one other question?
Sure.
There was this other series of notes. There was a page of notes that didn't directly line up with the thing. Hmm?
Oh, you know,
Are those meaningful?
no, those aren't right now.
They're not, okay.
They're not meaningful right now.
So those
Because I-
don't mean anything, okay,
Yeah, don't
that's
worry
fine,
about them.
that's all.
I actually thought I had deleted them,
Oh, okay.
because I
But
changed
they
them
were-
so
they were-
many times.
They were on a separate page,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
I'm with you.
All right,
Let's
so,
start.
Basically, I'll just give you a little bit of background. I met with
Yeah.
Sarah on a lot of items. Some of the items are contract, so she was able to give me either the contract isn't changing or it is changing. And we talked about the utilities that we have to build in an increase for them. And I met with April yesterday. Yesterday was the first time she was able to meet with me, but she still hadn't gotten any information from WCI about anything additional that's turning over. So until she gets that for me, I can't plan any turnovers other than, Sarah and I talked about the new monuments in, Cypress Grove, so I included that. The only thing she gave me that, it's gonna cause some changes in here already, Sarah had suggested a 3% increase rate for the utilities, and April just recently got a letter from FPL that their increase for next year is gonna be 10.95.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, for the city?
For the utilities.
For the city?
FPL,
Oh, okay.
Florida Power and Light.
Oh, right.
They're predicting a predicting, I guess isn't probably the right word, 10.95 for 2017, 4.05 for 18, 1.46 for 19, and 1.67 for 2020. So I just got this yesterday, so I'll.
So those little brochures we get in the mail where they tell us what a wonderful job they're doing at controlling our power prices.
Saving us money.
And saving us money are just a lot of BS.
Well, what
The
April
pay for
said
all the
is they've
solar
kind of
panels.
held back on increases for a couple of years now, and this is a catch-up year, that they've been holding them down.
Oh.
And that's
so-
been approved, those increases? They have to go to the state and get these approved or whatever?
Oh, yeah, the Public Service Commission, I'm sure, has to.
Yeah.
It has to approve it, but I think for budgeting, we have to
Assume they're
use
gonna get what they
this
Yeah, I think so.
so I'll be, all of the utilities that are on there, I'll be changing it from a 3% increase to a 10.95%
Do Does that, Nancy, does that, your number take into consideration that we're changing out the bulbs and so forth?
It doesn't, and it's kinda hard to build that in yet until we see some change in the budget.
So we know we'll be over by a little bit, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I did with the utilities, I went through February, because that's the last month we had full data for, did the actual, and then projected that out for a year and added the percentage. So some of them went up, some of them went down.
Yeah. I believe in our analysis of that, and I must admit I don't have it with me, there was, you know, a percentage of savings that we are gonna garner
Right.
Yeah.
by using
Right.
those, so you might be able to use that.
We might be able to, but
Yeah.
I don't know what all the dates are for installation,
Mhm.
so it's.
It's just easier.
Yeah.
Do we know if, when the LEDs will be installed?
They were waiting for the, deposit so they could purchase the materials needed before they can start, and order and start. So, we're just waiting on funding from the CDD to get that coordinated.
But Sarah, it should all, I would think, would certainly be done by the beginning of the 2017 fiscal year,
Oh,
shouldn't it?
absolutely, I'm estimating 4 to 6 weeks out.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
I think we could assume that we're gonna get that benefit in this budget year
Okay.
that we're budgeting for.
Okay, and do we have a percentage that they're estimating will be the savings for the electricity for the LED lights?
I don't think they know, because I don't think they know what kind of increase we're looking, I don't know that they know that data.
Okay.
As the vendor, they just say over the lifetime, expect to see these exponential savings based off of, but
Yeah.
it's really gonna be we'll have to see how we're spending.
Most of
And-
the literature says it's about 40% in actual energy,
Right,
energy consumption.
right.
But that's not the whole bill you get from.
No, no, no,
Power
no,
Light.
no,
They
no,
have
no,
all these
no,
other
no, no.
costs.
That's just the energy consumption.
Energy
Correct.
consumption.
Right, right, yeah, because there's a lot of other
Right.
components.
And you
Lot
have
of
to take
factors
into
in that.
account
Big time.
the monument utilities and the lake aerator all that's gonna have to be increased then.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, all of it,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but as far as the savings, it would only be related to those
47 poles.
47
Street
poles,
lighting,
some of
yeah.
which will be done this year and some next year.
Correct.
Oh, well, yeah, the Cypress Grove part will be done next year, is that it?
No, you guys approved 47 poles, but
Yes.
those are the 25-foot poles, and
Yeah.
then we're going to do the 18-foot poles next year.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, so just start at the first item?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the landscape contract last year was 132,800. We're not projecting any changes in that. It does include, on the shared expenses, it's the, base budget in the wall. Even though we're gonna go out for new bids, we don't expect the budget line to increase, possibly even decrease, if we're lucky. Unless, of course, we haven't done our, wish list yet for the contract too, as far as what fertilization we want, what trimming, so that could have a big impact on.
I thought, yeah, we did that at the last
Did we-
meeting, right?
Did we? Yeah, we did.
Yes.
We did, and I think the only thing we changed was the fertilization.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I doubt this budget should go up at all, so we should be good with that number. And then, same with the pine straw, that's contract, we didn't expect any change there. And Sarah, jump in if there's anything different than what I have here.
Before you continue, for Jan's benefit and maybe for other people, just go through those titles to explain what they mean. Because some of this stuff is been transitioned to us, some of it we think
Okay.
is gonna be transitioned to us, so.
Well,
Okay.
these are shared that we're going through.
Well, they're shared with some commercial
Commercial
activities. That
activities.
portion, okay? But I'm looking at the various headings where it says grove budget and wall budget, just to go through quickly what that means for your benefit,
Thank you,
okay?
that would be great.
Because it can be rather confusing.
The Grove budget is Cypress Grove area, and the wall budget is, I assume, tree line.
Well, it's a portion of that.
Portion of tree line,
portion of
yeah.
tree
It's
line.
from the end of the wall.
The firehouse, basically.
South.
The
Firehouse.
White
So-
wall.
White wall.
The white wall,
We-
yeah.
The one along
for
tree line.
Tony's
The
one
benefit,
along-
we had a
White
town
That's
hall,
ours?
white wall.
That's
It's a
ours.
plantation.
White
That
walls,
is ours.
To the
gravel,
plantation,
salt,
right?
preserve master.
Yep,
Yes.
that is ours.
And-
What
and
community
every
backs
time
up
they
to
say
that?
white wall,
Huh?
Plantation.
Yeah.
What community backs up to that white wall on tree line?
Sienna?
Oh,
Sienna?
it's,
Us.
You-
Oh, Sienna, yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
it's a whole bunch of them.
There's a whole bunch of them as you go
Yeah.
down. yeah.
Well, as you go down, it's a lot more of them. Portofino does it on
Yeah.
the yellow,
And
on the
you
baby
get-
poop wall, and,
Yeah.
and several others.
what
And
wall?
Tiberio,
We common, lovingly refer to it as the baby poop wall.
That's what I thought you said, okay.
You got Tiberio, Verona, Sienna,
Yeah, right.
Bellagio, it's a
Yeah.
whole bunch.
Tiberio.
yeah, a whole bunch of
Yeah.
them.
Portofino.
Old Pelican,
Old Pelican.
It's
Okay.
basic.
It's old,
Yeah,
it's
pretty
basically
much.
Old Pelican.
okay.
It's
Yeah,
when
we
Tree
do.
Line was first built, basically, it only went to the firehouse almost.
Well, yeah, before Tree Line was built, really.
Before Trail Line was built, right.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Good idea, Ron.
Okay, and then the fourth column there, the ACA, is actually the Affordable Care Act budget. So there's one vendor who, increased their contract by the $21,000 you'll see down at the bottom.
Security.
Yeah,
Securitas,
security
our
contract.
security vendor.
So, that's the only thing,
Okay.
the only reason that column's even there is for that.
Do we
one
need to
vendor.
read every one of these, or can we just go with as a difference?
Well, yeah, I think we probably can.
Yeah.
Well, at least go through the bigger number ones,
Yeah.
Okay.
just for.
And there are a couple of places
The
I.
bigger number,
You're
not
behind-
the whole
people for
number.
that.
There's only 2 or 3
You're
lines.
behind that big people.
The couple of places
It's the same.
I must admit, I came up with questions.
Okay.
On the annuals, 706554, it's 12,390, but then the note says contract includes new bed at entrance, 22,082.
Yeah,
I
and,
was a
and, you
little
know, that's why
confused
I
by
thought
that.
I thought I had deleted all these comments because some of them were,
Okay, so that's
Old
not,
ones?
that's not a meaningful comment then.
that's not a meaningful comment. However, that one is, an additional $2,200 for a new bed.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
2,200.
Yeah,
Right,
so that one
okay, so-
actually changed from what you have. by
Okay, so in other words,
2,200.
it's going up 2,200 from the 12,390?
Yes.
I have
Say
a
that again?
question.
Yeah.
It was
It's going
12
up from the 12,000, or that's
Or
included?
does
in
include it in the
12,000?
Just $2,200 additional.
additional, so it's
Yeah.
14.
The 12 will
So
become
the real
14,500.
number-
14,590.
Okay.
14,600.
And
Okay.
that's for a new bed at the entrance.
You've
Okay.
probably seen it dug up already.
It's a lot of flowers for
Was that in-
$2,200.
Is that in this year's budget?
Well, they do annuals twice a year.
So this is twice a year therefore.
The addition of that bed.
The entrance is pretty.
Where has it been before?
It's,
What account? Because it,
oh,
We just added,
they added a bed.
we just added the bed, the annuals bed,
okay.
at the very front, in the center median, right when you turn in. If there's a big patch of dirt there now.
Mhm.
So we did that without a budget?
We didn't,
Yes.
did we approve it?
Yes.
We did.
Okay.
Then going from there to plant replacements,
That's the big one.
that's the biggie,
That's the big one.
What plant replacements does this include?
yeah.
The shared, in the shared section, it's outside of Pelican Preserve. So it's the area on Tree Line that belongs to the CDD, the center median, the landscaping at the front, fountains on Colonial and Tree Line. That's all CDD plant replacement there.
So this was the security thing along the wall where
This is where we
everything was
recommended
dying,
putting
we
the
need to replace it.
Calesia hedge.
We
So
covered that a couple meetings ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it breaks down to an additional $77.80, which is for the, behind the monuments at Colonial and Tree Line.
Yes.
Mhm.
And then the big one is the $36,755, and that's to replace all those wax myrtles. that
That's
are
the
down.
fence.
And
Mhm.
The
that's,
fence line along golf course.
that's
Right.
gonna be like a hedge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that it'll be.
And that's part of the
security and a
Part of
beautification.
security.
Part of the security thing now.
So that's a one-time,
Yes,
The-
that's a
The
one-time
7780, just let me understand, Sarah, that's part of the work we're doing on that monument, is that right? That we're gonna
This
have.
is for
they-
landscaping.
Huh?
This is
That's
for
a landscaping, but they're
only,
gonna have
yeah.
to,
Cause they have to cut it all back.
Cut it all
Also,
back and then-
A lot of it behind the sign has just been left to just kind of die over the years, and we only focused on the front of the sign.
Right.
But you can see it all through it, and it's all starting to die back.
Okay.
so.
all right.
Looking for other big items.
Yeah. And there are a couple of places here, I don't know, any more questions on shared O and M from people?
I think those are the only two.
Just to
big-
clarify, this is all outside of the residential area.
Outside our front.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the shared expenses, cause the two shopping centers sort of give us
Okay.
that little
They
money.
pick up us, you'll see, about $30,000 worth
Okay.
of
outside the gate.
outside
And
the-
actually,
Answer your question.
WCI picks up a
Okay.
small piece too, because they haven't sold, or whoever owns the other lots, up from the Winn-Dixie to our gate,
Okay.
because that's
So
still
on the
vacant.
South.
west side of
Right.
Tree Line.
On the west side, yeah.
They're not gonna build there, are they?
Eventually, somebody will build
Eventually,
something.
something's gonna be built there.
Okay, that's,
Let's go on. The landscape contract, I'm a little confused. Should those two numbers, the 49,176 and the 17,6 be in the Grove budget column?
Yes.
Instead of the budget.
Huh?
Yeah, instead
Yes,
of the
that-
wall.
that should be
Instead
in
of the
the-
wall budget,
yeah.
I was, cause the comments are all about Grove and.
Yeah,
and
that's
sort
on the
of-
wrong column because
That,
it,
if I could, that wall comment is in there from when you guys made the 2016 budget, because we weren't sure if that brown wall was
Yeah.
gonna be turned over to CDD or master, and it ended up being turned over to master, so that's coming out of HOA fees, so that's why that shouldn't be in that column anymore.
What
So-
should,
what item are you talking about?
which item?
Landscape contract, where you have 49,000 in the wall budget.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You were budgeting for the anticipation of taking over all of Tree Line.
yeah.
Right.
But they ended up deeding that brown wall section to the master association, not CDD. So that should be removed from your budget.
So
So are
entirely?
you saying the budget
Okay.
then is only 106,844?
Plus, you would wanna add a column for Cypress Grove with the numbers that are in the notes.
Oh, okay, so in other words, okay, so we would wanna add the 2463 a month and the 1635 a month.
okay.
That's
So-
what's currently it cost to maintain Cypress Grove, yes.
Okay, so,
It's 4,000.
30,000.
So it's still that same number.
it's still gonna be
It's
close.
still
Yeah,
44,000 versus
yeah, it comes
49.
to, it comes to
Yeah.
about exactly the same,
Yeah,
about
so
exactly the
just a
same.
little bit less.
Okay.
Okay,
But it
so-
just should show in the Grove budget.
Effectively, yeah,
Effectively.
that's where it is.
And that's true with the next line as well?
I assume the next one too?
The pine
Because
straw.
it's got, CG 1 and 2.
Um, Yeah, so would it be true for the the pine straw too?
Yes,
Mhm.
we were estimating, the proposal was 4,400 for 1 and 2 twice a year.
So that's only 88, right?
So
that
8,800
goes
times
in
2,
half.
so 16, I don't know.
So it's half.
17,000.
Oh, okay, that's the
It'd be
same.
17.
44
yeah.
each for
Yes.
one,
Yeah.
44 each for two, okay, got it.
Yeah, so it would be
Okay.
the 17.6 there.
So there you
slide
go.
them
So it's
over,
just
we're
in the
okay.
wrong column.
Okay.
So just slide that over to the Grove budget.
Yep. Okay, got it.
Um,
The irrigation, electric,
Yes,
we say based on actuals, so our actuals have gone up that much?
yes, and I don't know why that is.
Sarah, do you have any idea of why the irrigation electric should have increased that amount?
Other than Cypress Grove.
Well, that's probably a big chunk of it, because you guys picked up the electricity for lighting and, like, some of the irrigation on Cypress Grove,
Mhm.
you know, it had been conveyed. So I imagine that that's part of the electric, increase that you see there.
Oh,
It's
Sarah, can we
substantial.
use that, like you and I are talking about,
Yeah.
for the, turnover from WCI? Which Tony has basically somewhat agreed with us.
Yeah. Well, but, so at least we would get
Some of this back.
some of that's back.
If
Yes.
depending
It
on
would
how
be
we
a
do it.
temporary, depending how we do it,
Right.
we would get all that we paid to date until the turnover, we
Yeah.
would theoretically get back,
Hopefully.
hopefully. Yeah.
Who's paying for it today?
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are, but we shouldn't be. That's,
Okay,
that's
so it's
our
not in the
stance.
HOA budget?
Huh?
No.
Correct.
All FPL accounts that service CDD stuff are opened and put in the CDDs out of the.
Irrigation electric's an FPL account? Okay,
Electric, I would guess.
all right.
So,
It's
but,
electric.
but Sarah, since we are already paying that bill, oh, I see, so that's probably the reason that it's so high.
It's
yeah.
so high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this have to be averaged out, Sarah? Like we're talking, you talked about the streetlights?
Probably, yeah. I don't, it's gonna be a difficult.
I don't think Tony's fully aware of that. I'll try to discuss,
When you
because
say
I
has to
agree
be-
with you. You can't dictate exactly what the cost of the electric is per pole. It has to be average.
Right.
And that's the easiest way to do that, and hopefully
Oh, you mean when you go back to collect the back?
Right,
the
and you
back-
can't change the
Yeah.
FPL billing, it'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think, don't we estimate $21 a pole?
I think that's, yeah.
I
it
think
was-
it's $21 a
Yeah.
pole that
Oh,
we
per
estimate.
month, is that it?
Per month,
Mhm.
for each pole.
Okay.
The $625 a month main contract, that isn't the,
Oh, we're down to.
We're
Oh,
down
I'm
to-
sorry.
I'm
Where are
sorry.
we?
I d-
Irrigation and repairs. and
Yeah, I,
maintenance.
the,
did we not say
Um,
we didn't wanna,
Do we still have a
Sign a
contract for that,
contract.
Sarah? They just moved on to irrigation repairs and
There is an
maintenance.
irrigation maintenance contract addendum that's in effect, yes.
yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
don't know the history of when that's started, so I don't know what the discussions were at that time, but there is one in effect, where they cover a certain amount of repairs and labor costs and stuff and things versus an on-call situation.
And
One
then
of
we
the
have
things
some
that-
repairs that are outside of that,
Some that are
that we
outside of
budget
it.
for.
Yes.
Do we have that many repairs?
Oh,
that
yeah.
Are
And
needed?
irrigation.
Oh.
All the
Yeah.
time.
All
Yeah.
the time.
Why?
All the time.
but with the
Six
new,
fold.
Oh,
but with the,
Adding to it.
Yeah.
Well,
With the-
before we get to the repairs, could we just, for the
Stick-
sake of
stick
discussion,
with
take
electric.
8,000 from the electric, irrigation electric, and put it in Grove? So that way we
So-
differentiate between what you were paying and the new pay. And I realize it's not a lot of integrity in the number, but
Oh,
if
yeah,
we
you
go from
mean-
10-4 to 18-4, let's put 8,000 in Grove and leave the 10-4 like it was under
Okay.
base.
Yeah.
Put all the increase in
Yeah,
growth.
put the increase in Grove. That's a good
Okay.
idea, Bob.
Okay, and, that's gonna change by that 10.95%
Yes.
versus.
Correct.
20%.
That's correct.
So
We understand that,
all the
it,
electricity's gonna-
all the numbers will go
All
up.
the electricity numbers will go up, yeah,
Okay.
That's a heck of an increase.
yeah.
On the annuals, again, I'm a little confused by that one. It says contract 2 rotations at 17,023, which would give you the last year's number, the 34,046, but we're now saying it's less. Is that right? 30,720?
Let me, I just made myself a note on that, let me find it.
706,504.
Okay, the amount, there should be 34,046 with what I got.
Is
from
what the
Sarah.
budget should be then.
Yes, that, the budget should be
Yeah, it did go down.
34,046, and that includes Cypress Grove.
That includes Cypress Grove.
So the budget's higher than the actual, that's good.
well, that only brings it to 3720. There's a difference of 3326.
I'm not following you, Jen.
So if you're saying.
This
the-
is annuals we're talking about.
I'm on annuals, I'm on
Okay.
706,504. The annual budget in 2016 is 34,046. And we're saying current budget is,
30,720, but what we're
Right.
saying is that's not the right number.
No, the current budget should go back to the 34,046 like last year.
okay.
And-
So the
and-
number and
and
the total will
and
change
a
back.
piece,
Yeah.
a piece of that would be Cypress Grove then?
Part of that is Cypress Grove,
Okay.
Okay.
Part of the 34,046?
yeah.
Okay.
And,
Wait, I think that might have been missed. So you
Yeah,
have,
I do.
the 34,046 was the existing annuals, everything that throughout the community, except for the monuments at Cypress Grove entrances.
Oh,
Solara,
okay.
Azura. That was the extra that I had said to put in the Grove budget, which I don't know if that's the 1180 or let's see.
There
So
was
is it the 34,046 plus 1180?
Right, if you take on Cypress Grove, you'll take on Cypress Grove annuals, which is just a couple of monument entrance signs.
Okay.
and we haven't taken them on yet, right?
Correct.
So,
But-
WCI paid the annuals for,
So the 29,540 is incorrect.
Yes,
right, the
that's-
29,540 should read
Yeah, forget-
34,046, and then the 1180 should be added to that, is that
Yeah,
right?
because that was the 2 rotations on Cypress Grove, the
Correct.
1180. So, yeah, that account will increase just by the 1180.
Okay.
So it's
35,126 or something, so.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
I
Okay,
think, did
plant
anything else?
replacements. Couple of those, no, okay, I guess one of them is a Cypress Grove community, but I guess
So the
that's
five-
kind of minor, the
The
Camarel.
5,000
They're all,
needs to go.
they're all old Pelican.
Yeah, Camarel, it's old. Pelican.
Valentina, Monticello, and Camarel were all
It's
old.
over the
Oh,
bridge.
Camarel, I'm sorry, yeah, right.
Oh, for those, 3,
Those three
plant
communities
replacements.
are old Pelican.
yeah, there's, let me see.
Are they just old?
706,525.
They're
Are-
just old plants, they're just.
No,
kind of-
old Pelican.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Community, it's not Cypress Grove, it's,
Anything this side of
to
Cypress
try and
Grove.
differentiate between Cypress Grove and everything else is
No,
old Pelican.
Everything from Cypress Grove out is New
New
Pelican.
Pelican.
And
So-
everything
I
before
got that, I'm on the new Pelican
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, no, no, no.
Yes,
So-
But the plant replacements is what I was referring to, not the Pelican people.
They
Are
have
they
annuals and
dying
stuff.
so much that we have to replace them because they're
Some
old?
of them are annuals and,
These
Oh.
are, these three particular ones, were requests for a walkthrough with the presidents of those communities or a representative thereof, where we walk the cul-de-sac and they have a lot of dead plant material. And it wasn't in the budget to replace it all this year necessarily, so I said I would recommend budgeting for it next year.
So we're going down the streets now.
We do the cul-de-sacs, the roundabouts.
The cul-de-sacs.
Except that some of the communities have elected to not do it.
Some
like-
of them have elected to take care of their own roundabouts, but technically they've been conveyed to the CDD.
If your
Oh,
community
roundabouts?
if your community has a cul-de-sac.
the end of
not
a
all
dead
the-
end street.
Yeah,
We
at the end
do.
of the street.
We do.
That belongs to the CDD, not to your community.
The grass within that
Well, we'll see
circle.
about that. I'm kidding.
Okay,
I
so
don't-
there's,
I
Well,
don't
it
like
doesn't
that.
yet for her, because she's in Cypress Grove.
Well, I understand, but it
Yeah.
eventually will.
Yeah.
But what a couple
Yeah,
of
it's not
communities
yet.
did was say,
Okay, so this includes going down those cul-de-sacs and replacing all the dead trees.
well, it's three three of them, Valentina, the cul-de-sac.
Monticello. and
Yeah, and then in Monticello, it's actually, there's some magnolias there that are real.
There's a couple of,
I think one of them
issues
fell
that-
down, didn't it,
yeah.
last year? And so they wanna replace the, magnolias with something different.
Whatever.
yeah.
Whatever.
and-
Yeah, it was something
But
different.
anyway,
Whatever.
there are
And
plant,
then-
whatever, there
It's
are.
a lot of money for plants.
Yes.
We
Yes,
spend
it
a
is.
lot of
They're
money.
talking-
That's why the community looks beautiful.
That's right.
That's your biggest.
yeah,
Yes, it does.
landscape,
It's
landscape
gorgeous.
is
Yeah,
the
and then
biggest-
Camarillo, they want a buffer put in, and,
They're like one of the only streets on Pelican Preserve Boulevard that doesn't have some sort of hedge in front of it blocking the house from the view, and they've requested that now for 2 years, so I said I would recommend it for next year.
yeah. So for the three projects, it's a total of $5,034. Valentina's 2624, Monticello 1660, and then Camarillo $750.
Okay.
And those
So-
would be one-time expenses, they're not gonna be an annual expense.
So Sarah, these haven't come in front of us yet.
No, they
You
have
just
not.
wanted them in our budget.
In the
I
budget.
just asked to put
And-
them in the budget
and there
above
were-
and beyond regular landscape replacement, because we do spend so much on landscape replacement.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They've been kind of.
There are a number of items in here, Nancy, where we've kind of said to Sarah, would you please put these in the budget? You'll see some of the safety things.
Mhm.
We asked her to put in the budget.
Are these
May
the
not
ones
be
that are
able to
underlined?
Retain them.
Are these the ones that are underlined?
Underlined.
Oh, this is, she used Phil's.
She
to
used my
Note one.
notes, and so
Okay.
what
Those
you're,
are his
what you're,
underlining.
what you're seeing,
Underlines mean
what you're
something
seeing
to
is.
Phil, not to
You're
us.
just- You're just seeing his comments.
You can-
Okay, I just thought it was a special notation somehow.
No.
All right.
Oh, well, that's special, because I made it.
Phil's the chairman,
Oh,
yeah.
got it.
Okay. So we'll move on to, the feature fountains, again, utilities, we know that may go up. Okay, going on down, the feature fountain repair and maintenance, there's a little additional in there. And is that,
Those are all the main changes.
Okay, the next big item is the street light 527, repair and maintenance, where
yeah,
that's the LEDs,
That's the, yeah, the 18.
so we know what that is.
That's phenomenal. That's crazy.
Okay, access control,
Well,
Oh.
now, on street lighting repairs and maintenance, the budget is actually lower?
Let me go see if that's one I got changed.
That's what it
No,
shows.
that one, I've been working on this over the
Yeah.
weekend since I sent this out too. That one,
27 or 21, which is it?
27.
Okay,
We got 30 poles to replace at $565 apiece, so that's $16,950. But Sarah's asked for a little cushion there, of bumping it up to 20,000 just to be sure.
Okay.
And then also there's a new light that they wanna put in at, Cypress Grove and Pelican Preserve because it's been dark there.
Yeah.
So when I added that in, we're actually up to 25,900 now with the cushion and the.
I should add at that new light at the corner there, if any of you saw the note, I think I sent it copies, the note that I sent to Tetra Tech about turnover. One of the things that we're gonna push is to have WCI do that work before we accept the roads. So hopefully we can can save that money, but I think it's probably a good idea to put it in
Put
here
it in
right
the
now.
budget.
We can
The
always
traffic
spend it on
light
landscaping if we don't
that's-
use it.
The traffic light that's being installed at Pelican Preserve Boulevard
That's-
tree line, that doesn't hit anything in here?
Nothing in
Yeah,
here.
that's
Okay.
all.
No, that's
Yeah.
very different. This
Good,
is,
okay.
this is a light right at.
Oh, I know
corner
what you
of
mean.
Pelican.
And it is dark there. After I
Oh, yeah.
saw that note, I started paying attention. It is pretty dark at that
Yeah.
intersection.
Yep, yep.
And there's a lot of traffic
Mhm.
coming and going at that intersection. So that amount with the push and put in, goes up to 25,900. So it'll be just a slight increase from last year.
And then everything else is pretty much the same on this
Everything
page.
else is
Yeah.
The,
pretty close to the
yeah,
same.
the traffic repairs and maintenance, I'm a little, that's the same
Traffic signage
number?
repair and maintenance.
Yeah.
That would include,
Yeah, this is the new stuff that we would like to do on signage.
Well, we had discussed adding just for like painting, which
Yeah.
is what I gave her a number for, on like painting more emblems.
Yeah.
But we didn't decide really how much we wanted to do in addition to poles and how to budget for that appropriately as a work group.
So the 7K for security proposals, Sarah, is,
I'm not sure where that note came from.
okay.
It might have been an old note, that maybe that was something that Tracy had worked
You know,
on.
we had that 7K in the budget from last year.
For the safety security working group, or?
yeah,
Yeah.
that was what the original 10,000 last year was from last year's budget. Traffic signage repairs and security proposals, and I've seen nothing to know what that should change by for this year.
Yeah, the only thing I think that I added was the painting, if I recall, it was $2,500, I said, and maybe that could go in that category.
Wasn't the $10,000 for the informational signs, driving too fast, the speed limit sign, that tells you your speed limit?
That's
That
probably
could be
the-
used for that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We, I
What's the-
forget,
I
but
thought we budgeted
it cost
10
us,
grand.
well, no, it didn't cost us 10,000.
No,
by the
that's what it
signs,
was.
but we had 10,000 in the budget.
Right.
One for that and one for more signage.
Right.
Right.
Now, we didn't spend the money on the signage.
Right.
We spent it on the sign,
Sign.
but not the signage,
Yeah.
Right.
so.
Now,
Yeah.
we are looking.
And I
at-
know you guys are looking to
With the
increase.
possibility of another one of those signs.
Right, plus more signage.
Yeah. Well, you
Right.
know, these are things, we're gonna have to see if we have to trim them, but we're looking at that. Okay.
And
So maybe that 10,000 should stay there.
Oh, it should
Oh,
stay
yeah,
there.
absolutely.
I would
I
add
increased it
2,500.
slightly based on our expenses so far.
Sarah wants more.
Based on the expenses. through
10,000 doesn't buy
February.
very much.
No.
No, it
It goes
doesn't.
real quick.
Yeah.
So,
Sarah
especially
does
the way
want more,
those
that's what she
poles
said.
By one
So-
signage.
So the
There's
increase
7,000.
there, to the 11,952, that was based on the actual expenses through February projected out for a whole year.
mhm.
So that went up just a little bit. And we felt that that could include the additional painting.
Right, I had asked for like 2,500 for painting,
Yeah.
but I guess a lot depends on a lot
Yeah.
else.
Right, exactly. Okay.
Well,
Access.
In a signage, I'll
Yeah.
just add a little bit more to the confusion. If the Sevilla proposal comes to pass, where we straighten out the tree line, and, I mean, not tree line, Trieste cart path in the
You mean
preserve.
Sienna?
Sienna.
Yeah.
So if that comes to pass, then we're gonna have to be restriping and
Right.
re-signing, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's gonna cost money.
Yeah.
Well, we had a preliminary proposal, I'm not sure if you were here when that was done, you got a proposal. The amount of money wasn't that bad.
Really? Okay.
But for the actual construction portion, including striping, but it didn't include the extra money for signage.
Well, I just.
But it was like $7,000 or $8,000 just for construction.
I'm surprised we
portion.
could even do that cheap.
Yeah, it was relatively cheap, because it really isn't a big job construction-wise, but when you get to signage, it kind of doubles the cost.
So you're
So-
talking about right behind Sienna, between the preserve?
Yeah,
there's a
Where it's
proposal
so
that, that's, so
close.
it
Straighten that out.
goes right into the intersection versus 30 feet past the intersection.
Now, the angle today, well, they're looking to make it
Straight-
exactly.
Straight across.
If I could provide a little
Yeah.
clarification on that, that's because I've seen the most recent drafted proposal to Sienna and what they're going to accept as a board. It does not include straightening that path.
Okay.
It includes adding a sidewalk from where their sidewalk ends to Pelican Preserve Boulevard. WCI said they're not gonna straighten that path, what they're gonna do is, once that becomes the easement right, gets turned over, it'll be to the WCI or anybody who owns the preserve going forward, and it'll be be up to them to straighten that path, and I believe they were gonna leave it up to the CBD. So if you wanna budget for that,
Of course.
if you wanna budget for that, that would be the time.
Okay, moving right along.
Sorry.
So do we
Just
need,
one quick
do we wanna
question.
budget for that?
No, I don't think
Yeah.
we wanna spend any.
Are we putting up a lot of signs?
Well,
Well,
It
not a lot of
depends.
signs,
Not
but
a
the
lot.
signs are expensive.
signs are expensive.
Well, I know they're expensive, and they also detract from the natural beauty of Pelican.
Mhm.
I mean, that's one of the things that drew me to this place.
What depends on what we're gonna need the signs for, because,
So we're not
Do we have-
obligated to using it, we're just budgeting it.
yes.
More money if we don't spend can go to landscaping, this is good.
Some of us would like for it to decrease taxes, but that's a different
Yeah.
discussion.
That is an excellent idea.
That's a different discussion.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
let's move on here. Gatehouse and janitorial repairs, actually, we're spending less there, is that?
Oh, I have questions on this. And instead of taking everyone's time, because I don't wanna make this meeting any longer than it needs to be, I would love to, or can I get a breakout of what access control entails and all the other stuff, the little details?
Well, the access control is basically our Securitas
It's a
contract.
contract.
Security
Which is
contract.
all the guards at the guardhouse, the roving patrol.
Do we need to spend that kind of money? I'm not sure the roving patrols is a benefit.
Well, that may be another subject, but right now, that's a kind of a locked-in thing. I mean.
It is?
That's the contract.
Well, yes,
part.
we have a contract,
Yeah.
and we have a contract with them, and it lasts. how-
And if you read the contract, the law becomes self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cost of their vehicle, all that stuff.
Yeah, Sarah, how long does our contract with Securitas go out, do you recall?
I can't recall right now.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
But that's
Another
a
year or so.
contract.
The other thing, I don't know if you remember at the meeting last month, he discussed that roving control was gonna have a little more
Control.
reporting and control, but, you know, the way
Robust.
he
We're
reported it.
paying for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's expensive
Oh, yeah.
to see if, because I talked to two of the cars.
Hmm.
We're just checking to see if someone's left their,
Door.
garage.
That's part of their assignments.
That's
It's
part of their
Well,
assignment. That's
they-
part of their
they-
assignment.
Sorry, all right, so we can discuss this when the
Yeah,
contract
but
comes up
they
for
also
renewal,
do
but-
a lot more than that.
But they do a lot more than that.
Yeah, they do a lot more than that.
Well,
The very fact that we have them in the
we're a
community.
gated community, we're secure to a
Uh-uh.
We're not
large
secure.
extent.
No.
We're
No,
not
not.
secure.
Whole other discussion, we'll get you up to speed on that.
We'll get you up to speed.
We
are
cannot
not-
deny anyone access to
just
the
that
community.
We are a limited
come in, they
access
come in.
community, but we are not a gated community. We'll get to that at
Yeah,
another
it's
time.
true.
They're
Public
technically
roads.
public roads.
Those are
So
public
your
roads.
salesman
When
told
go-
you what?
Yeah, when
Yeah,
you
exactly.
when you go through the gate, you're still on a public road.
You're
Pelican Pres-
right, you're right,
Pelican
we
Preserve-
are.
Pelican Preserve Boulevard is a
Anybody
public
can
road.
come into the community.
Cannot be denied.
Cannot be
Access.
denied.
So
All right.
we have a record of everybody who comes in,
Right.
but they can still come in, and then we have porous walls along the outsides too, I mean, there's
So what's
places
the
people-
whole point of calling visitors in if anyone can come in? All right, different
Yeah, hold
discussion,
on.
Yeah.
different
Very,
topic.
very briefly, if someone comes in and challenges and they're not allowed or shouldn't be in, then the roving patrol follows them.
Follows them.
That's what they're there. They call them and they follow that person to make sure that they're not up to some nefarious deed.
But-
And
But it's a
things
whole
happen
other
like that.
discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pelican, Plaza has their own pool, and one day last summer, there was a whole family of people there, with picnic baskets and everything, and didn't belong.
And there we
they had
can
to
They're-
remove
they're-
them.
But they're only
Oh.
allowed on Pelican Preserve Boulevard. The others are
Plaza's private.
private roads.
They
So
can't be removed.
that's.
Yeah, I say they can be
Well, what
removed.
happened is it was somebody who comes in here to do some work for somebody, they did work for a
They saw it,
handicapped
knew it was
individual.
empty.
And then went
decided-
up to the pool.
They were
Yeah,
on
why
a
not?
6-month
Sure.
pass.
They are smart
They got-
people.
We have continuing problems.
Oh,
with
it-
that.
it's
So,
big.
All right.
there's a lot more.
Back to the
There's a
budget.
lot more to it.
All
Back to
right,
the-
different
back to the budget.
discussion, I just think that's an awful lot of money for an ungated community.
Well, but
Okay,
All right,
let's move on.
yes, let's move on.
Don't you love it? Aren't
From
you
a
glad
budget
you're here?
point of view, it's not a questionable. Gatehouse and
Same old.
janitorial repairs, I guess we're okay on that.
Now, we also have money in our capital budget. Not for janitorial, but for
Yeah.
gatehouse issues, if building issues come up. Why do we need both?
Well, this is, you know, I think what you will find is that the capital budget covers stuff that's longer term. That if it's a kind of a maintenance item, which is basically what
You know,
you're
repair
talking about.
doors and things
Yes,
like
like
that.
that doesn't come out of the capital budget. It's not really for repairs, it's for replacement and.
Okay,
longer
end of
things.
useful life, all right.
Yeah, it really is. Supplies and passes, okay, same as last year, all
I
right.
have a question on supplies and passes. I don't know if we're doing this, but originally when it was set up, we all got 3, passes. We could have them on 3 different vehicles, we could use them all at once, and anything after that, like if my husband and I trade a car now, we'd have to come to the office and supposedly pay some dollar amount. Where does that income come back in?
I'll have to, I know we code it to the operating account for the CDD, but I'll have to check to see, it should be showing up in the revenues somewhere. I don't have that in front of me, like one of your budgets or
I'm sure it's,
financials in front of me.
I'm sure it's not a large amount, but I'd like to see where that money actually comes back to us.
Carefully take it off the old car.
Yeah.
Stick it on the
Yeah,
new
right.
car.
No, but
and
Nancy
then-
raises a good point, because Bond's group has made a proposal to WCI this year that for the 2017 budget, they pay part of the $13,000 a year that we are paying to maintain the driving range. And they're entertaining this now. He asked me how much we wanted. I gave him a number. They haven't answered, but we're gonna get some money.
The driving,
The golf driving range, Bond 13.
yeah, oh.
Okay, we pay for all of it. And that struck me that that's not right. They
Yeah.
should be paying something.
Oh,
They-
yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, when that happens, and it's
Yeah.
going to happen in 17, then I need to know from Sarah where that shows up in our total budget, because that's gonna be a net inflow of probably about $7,000 a year, somewhere in that range.
All right.
But the point is, we need to have that mechanism to show that. That's just an example.
Yeah.
There may be other ways.
Okay.
And I thought somebody told me, maybe it was Chris, that the money from those passes kind of goes back into that account to buy their supplies.
It very well could be applied to that line.
Yeah, I
I'll
thought it
double
just
check.
stayed right in that line item.
Well, that's okay, but then I would expect the 6,000 should be dropping.
Yeah,
If we're selling them,
we should be, or we
it should be a
able to
one-time
see-
buy and then you
Well,
net
but
out.
it's supplies / passes, so it's all the supplies they use up at the,
Yeah,
at the
you're
yard
still, you're
sale.
still passing a lot out, and
Yeah.
there's more people.
$500 is a hell of a lot of supplies.
Well, I'd like to
Month.
see that net, just to see,
Right.
Well,
Good point.
our actuals through February for expenses in that were 1943, which was just about right in line with where we should be as the annual budget. It was a little bit,
A little below that.
Except
Just
you
a
don't
little
see
bit
what the
below.
input was.
yeah.
if it was 6,000 plus some income from the
Yeah,
sale.
whatever that income was.
Wouldn't be very much income.
It isn't a lot, but I will get an answer and I'll give it to.
Yeah. Okay.
It could almost be a accounting nightmare that isn't worth it.
It may not be, you're right. It might be.
Well, if it's only in owners who are on their 3rd or higher pass, it's not gonna be a lot.
Yeah, it'd be pretty insignificant.
Especially since we just started that system, what,
But
2 years ago?
But I thought we were gonna charge suppliers for the passes. So now that should be a fairly decent number.
We charge tenants, but we see like 70% of them use, come back with the same car every year, and we just reactivate the barcode that's already on it.
No, but the contractors are coming, they buy them, correct? I thought the contractors
I
were
don't
paying.
know
was
the
discussed.
contractors that are given barcodes. We don't give vendors barcodes, they get passes.
They just get a pass.
Passes.
The only people that get barcodes are.
Okay, we don't charge them for passes?
Are, not for the.
Contractors.
We had talked about something about selling to contractors who come in frequently.
Like Ameriscan,
Like
they're here all the
Ameriscan,
time.
some kind of a pass. I think at some time we had discussed that, but I don't know that we ever.
Never took it forward?
We never
Okay.
took it to action.
And with new homes coming up all the time, we're giving out a couple of passes to every new homeowner, so there is some expense there.
Mhm.
Oh, no, I understand that, but there have to be a lot of people that either trade cars every couple of years or whatever.
Yep.
So there should be something starting to
Something
come the
coming.
other way.
Yep.
So I guess the question is, do we need to find out if they're actually charging the fee when they should be?
Well, Sarah says they are.
We are, I deliver to my accounting person at my Veneta office, we give them an envelope of checks every week. Sometimes it's 1 check, maybe it's 2, but yeah, I mean, we do provide those checks for those for those.
So I guess we need to find out where they're putting those.
Yeah.
Yeah, find out where it's going.
Yeah.
Where that money's going.
Yeah, to somebody's
I mean,
pocket.
we code it,
Securitas party fund.
but, yeah.
Okay, we're on to, onto the second page. Green. Uh, So the VoIP hosting support, we don't need to increase that. We think the new system will be about the same price, maybe even slightly less. And the leased golf cart,
For,
The maintenance guy that runs.
maintenance guy,
is all
that
about-
runs, we have a maintenance guy.
didn't we have golf cart maintenance up here?
This is the cost of the cart, to lease the cart.
And
And then
we
there's
did talk
$500.
about them buying it versus leasing it.
Yeah.
Remember we had that discussion?
That's right,
Not
yeah.
sure how we concluded that.
Just maybe it'd be better to just buy one.
Well, it's gonna be about 8,000 a lot.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not sure.
But after 4 years, it's probably good.
Yeah. Pressure cleaning,
Pressure cleaning, I have the total amount for that, and the one thing I had to talk to Sarah about, the amount hasn't changed, but it needs to be split into different accounts, although the last meeting, we talked about maybe having a pressure cleaning account, so I didn't split it out yet.
Yeah, increase maybe, we do a 2-year contract with the current one, and they pressure clean twice a year, and they haven't raised their prices in the last, 6 years. So
Yeah.
they did raise it to $1,000 each clean, so it's like $2,000 more a year now.
Okay.
And
What-
I did that out, and they were still the cheapest.
What's clean? What are we cleaning?
Sidewalks.
Sidewalks, gutters,
Okay.
the monument signs, the part of the wall that belongs to,
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
okay?
So what you're saying though, this money is, for this year, is scattered among different accounts?
It's scattered among.
it's amongst several different ones, because some of
Yeah.
it's shared, because when they do the out.
So
Oh,
this,
yeah.
this 25,000 here is really not an increase. The
No,
increase
it's not an
is
increase.
2,000 or 1,000?
2,000.
2,000, so it'll be 27,000 then.
Right.
Yeah, but that's already in some of these other accounts.
Right.
So I
Oh, it
need
is?
to
You see what
figure
I'm
out.
saying?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
already there, we just don't see
You
it
never
because
had a
it's
line
buried.
item dedicated to pressure cleaning.
Correct.
We just
Okay.
kind of put it in like a general repairs or entry feature repairs when it was the entry feature getting cleaned.
Okay.
And
We took it out of that account.
it typically would make more sense to have a pressure cleaning line item than putting it in inaccurate line items.
Yep.
Yeah,
And,
but-
and we'd have two pressure
But
cleaning.
you would have to have one for your residents
Yeah.
and one for your
Shared.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the point is, the increase from last year to next year,
Yeah.
this year to next year is only $2,000,
Right.
it's not $25,000.
Right, right,
That's
yeah,
the
cause
point
there's,
I'm trying
there's,
to make.
oh, I'm sorry, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
there's zero
Yes.
in there.
So
And
what I'll do is find out from Sarah what accounts I should take it out of and reduce them
Yep.
by those little
And I think I
amounts.
gave you an invoice that shows you which one we code it to, right?
Okay,
Yes,
I think you did,
Yeah, so you should be able to just times that by 2 and then look at it through those accounts.
Okay, so then I'll take it out of those little accounts and I'll set up two pressure cleaning accounts and split that amount. in the year.
Now, we come down to the bottom line, and it's an excruciating increase. About 30%.
Which doesn't seem to make sense.
Which
somehow.
seems huge.
Yeah,
It is huge.
Yeah, well, it is huge. I mean, it's clearly not viable, you know, we're gonna have to, if that's what it really looks like, we're gonna have to do some trimming.
well, I'll make all these changes and then I'll send this to Diane.
Yeah.
And see what it actually comes out
How
to
to
now.
be. One of the important things here, Nancy, and maybe you can talk to Stephen, about this, is we benefited, in this fiscal year, because the number of ERUs increased substantially.
Correct.
We had a big benefit,
How does that benefit us?
because it benefits us
Lowered
because.
our
Because we added those new hubs, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Got it, got it,
yeah,
got it.
and so the cost per ERU.
Went from 2,200 to 2,400.
Well, no, we went from 2,500 to 2,800, 2,858, as I remember the number.
And that was-
And in
that
fact,
was
and,
WCI's number.
and it was, that's right. And
And they
so
can
we
change it.
had a substantial increase. In fact, when we looked at our budget last year, we thought we were gonna have a 3 or 4 or 5% increase in costs. They actually went down somewhat, and not only did they go down, but we were able to put extra money in the capital asset account. Stephen did that, so we really benefited from the fact that we had an increase in ERUs. And, you know, because we weren't charging people as much per ERU.
Well, actually, I don't ever remember going above 2,500.
Well, I will tell you.
Okay.
I didn't think it did
Something
either.
was-
It was,
25
we went
something.
from 22 to 25.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Because before we were 25,
No.
they said we weren't gonna have the extra 800 homes or whatever it
Take-
was on that
take-
800 acres.
If anybody has a calculator, if you divide that capital assets repair and replacement reserve by the reserves cost per ERU, you will find that the number is 2858.
So at some point in time, we thought we were putting 2,800 homes?
No, that not only involved homes, but
Equivalents.
equivalents in commercial and all of the other things. that
Oh,
we're
that's the
doing.
variable, the
That's
That's the
commercial.
variable, that's the variable. And the golf course and all the other things that are
Okay,
not homes.
okay, okay.
That are not homes, and we benefited from that because we got a big increase in the number of ERUs.
You're right, it's 2858, I just divided it out.
2858, and in fact, if you divide the 392,
Okay.
it gets to 2865, I think, I divided.
Was
just
the
wasn't sure.
big change in that, Phil? Was that bringing the 800 acres back in?
Yes,
Right,
that
okay.
was one of the big
Then
changes.
I'm with you.
One of the big changes, Bob.
Okay.
But it was definitely there. We benefited. We thought we were gonna have an increase. We didn't have an increase because of that.
Gotcha.
And in fact, we even, at the last minute, Stephen actually inflated the budget to a certain degree, in the capital asset repair and I think someplace else. And we benefited from that. So we're ending up getting more revenue than we budgeted.
Correct.
Because of that. And if you look at the situation through, you know, what our assessments are, special assessments through February, you'll find, you know, we're running ahead of the game.
So all of the additional monies that we put last year into a reserve account,
Yes,
this year, we could go back to the correct amount in reserves
yes.
and use that last year's surplus funds to lower homeowner share this year.
That's correct. That's one of the possibilities. As you
So we're not
remember,
up 30%.
the number we've been putting in reserves was about 245,000 a year. Last year, we put in 363,000.
Right, so we could.
We
okay,
could do
gotcha.
that. However, I should caution you that probably the 245 is not really adequate. but-
No, I understand that too, but
Have we
that's,
had another
That's
discussion, how
another-
much money you need to put in reserve?
Correct.
We never
primarily
have
for
enough
roads.
money in reserves.
but it's a lot more than it was the first 10 years. we
Yes,
were-
Oh,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sarah, you-
So in any event.
We gotta add Pod's
they-
component to this before,
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Sarah
into
was
this discussion.
trying to
I
say
just had a
something.
quick question, because $60,000 of this increase is one-time project fee. It's your Calusia hedge potentially and your lights. Are any of those in consideration for a capital expenditure? I would think light poles
Why not?
potentially could be.
Well,
No, I don't think
because-
so.
But
bec-
some budgets have a landscape capital contribution. I don't know if
No.
CDD ever had anything like that. Okay.
These are all on private roads, not public roads?
What
All
the-
these light poles?
No, light poles are on.
All public roads.
All public roads.
Why doesn't the county or the city?
They're not FPL poles.
They're not FPL poles. They're on.
They are
They belong-
specially designed
They belong
poles
to
for
the
Pelican.
community, or the, yeah,
Yeah.
that's confusing.
Would Florida Power and Light put poles in?
No.
No.
Why?
I think that's the reason why they weren't in the first, well, I guess because they're decorative poles. I don't know if switching them out at
Decorative
this point,
poles.
I don't know what that costs.
They don't do that.
Usually that's a city or a county responsibility.
Then you
Well,
get an ugly
this
pole.
This is the CDD.
We don't want ugly poles.
The CDD owns the poles and the electricity that runs. the poles,
Okay,
not the
if we're
electricity.
willing to buy pretty poles, I'm with you.
Well, we have up to.
You already
For 12 years.
We
You know
have.
what I mean?
I mean, if
So
the
it's
pole-
there.
But I'll support ugly poles in the Cypress
For,
Road
for,
neighborhoods.
for New Pelican, we'll put ugly poles up. How's that, right?
Thank you for your support.
And you have to remember
That's
the
subject to a different
CDD.
meeting.
You have to remember,
Jan
the
said-
CDD is a taxing agency.
I know.
That's true.
I know.
They are
That's
tax
true.
dollars paid for it.
That's
Okay,
true.
where did you come up with the 30% increase?
If you look at, we're going from $410 to $518
Where are
per
those numbers? I'm missing
ERU.
that.
If you go
Where are
down,
those numbers, Phil?
look at total O&M and reserve cost per ERU. Last,
I see a 392.
yeah, well,
To
I'm
411.
sorry, no, the number I gave you is not,
Go down.
is not correct. So, I withdraw my comment.
Now, I didn't do anything with this part of it, because I
Yeah.
know
I would-
nothing
I
about
would-
the
I
capital
withdraw-
asset repair.
I withdraw my comment.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Nancy, we do.
So it isn't a
have-
30%
It's
bump.
not quite as
Well,
bad.
You
as-
scared me.
No,
Yeah.
I know.
So
It
this is
isn't.
something I probably need to talk to Stephen Bloom
Wasn't the
about.
30% the
those
total
numbers, right?
O&M expenses?
Huh?
Weren't you talking 30% on the total O&M?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 30%
the-
increase.
That's what-
But
Well,
we don't know
we
if
don't
it's
know what the-
accurate.
We don't know what the total increase is.
Where are we seeing that?
No, we're not.
Okay.
We don't know what the
All right,
total,
all right.
but we have, I would say this, the 30% was a bad statement. I would say this, we've chalked in quite a few increases, and when Nancy puts this thing back
Okay,
together,
okay.
we're gonna have, we're gonna have to deal with that. But Nancy, if you can, if Stephen could give us an idea of how many ERUs we're dealing with, because
Okay.
the ERU count tends to
Go up
go
and
up and
down.
down.
Bounces
It bounces
around.
around,
So-
and it could
Thank you.
create a real problem for us.
Okay, so everything above our 2,500 homes approximately is
Yeah.
commercial?
Commercial,
Golf
golf
course,
course,
town center.
town center,
Okay.
stuff that's,
So they
property
just,
that isn't home.
they've made it into equivalents?
Yes.
Equivalents,
exactly.
right.
Okay.
They make
Some
that into,
formula, I don't
they
know
make
what
that
it
into
is.
equivalents, a lot of which, is WCI property, of course, they pay their share of this stuff.
So Stephen is the person who should be able to tell me,
I think. Now,
I'll
that
start
number
with-
didn't come out until pretty late in the process last year.
That's true.
Which worries me, but if you would pursue him about
okay,
that, it's.
I have
it's
a couple other questions
Oh,
for
yeah,
him
and it's a
too.
very important number, because if suddenly the number of ERUs is dropping from 2858 down to 2600 or 2400,
It's gonna make a big
we got
difference.
some big problems on our
Well, I
hands.
think the minimum is 25, because
Yes,
right now,
right,
that's what
okay.
WCI,
Right, okay.
has
But-
committed to.
Right, but whatever,
We had suffered from the reduction
Yeah.
of the 800-acre tract relative to ERUs.
Right.
Relative to the homeowner's
Right.
expense. We went through that, the pain of that.
Yeah.
In one of our budget years, 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
And
And then
hope-
last year, we got the benefit as it came back.
hopefully this will not be a problem, I just think we need to.
Absolutely. It's
understand
gonna
where it
impact us
stands.
to a degree.
It's gonna impact us.
And then, there's some expenses that I pull from their profit and loss that I input, and I can't figure out where that budget item came from last year. Nothing on Chris's budget sheet matches what the CDD's does. So that's something
Well,
else I have to go to Stephen about.
Part of the budgeting process is, if you look at the 4% discount allowance,
Mhm.
there's an assumption made incorrectly, probably for Pelican,
Yeah.
but they do it district-wide,
Across the board.
that 4% of people will pay early. Or the tax assessments, and
Right.
so
And you get that
that's
discount.
built in.
You get that discount.
Pelican's probably closer to 90%.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, sure.
So, but anyway,
So is that
that's,
something that should be changed then, that,
so far, we haven't needed.
Kinda generic.
just leave it as it
Yeah.
is for now?
But just so you know that 4% is to account for anybody who early pays their taxes.
Okay, so Nancy, obviously, you need to, take everything that we've mushed around
I'll
here.
make all these changes and get them out to
back
by
and
the
get
end
it
of the
back.
week.
And then see what it comes out to.
That's right, and then I think what we have to say is, obviously, our agenda for our May 12th meeting, we will
Okay.
go through this again and
I've-
see where we stand at that
I have
juncture.
one question, what's not reflected anywhere here, and maybe because April hasn't gotten back to me yet, is if we take back the preserves this year, there's nothing, and that's gonna be a huge number, if we take back the preserves.
It's about a $40,000 number.
It's in you,
It's
it's in
cheaper.
it's
No.
in your budget?
No, it's
No.
not. It was at one time, we took it out,
Okay.
but it's in our charter,
Yeah,
but it's much less than ponds, but still a significant dollar number.
Mhm. It will be, because it was originally part of our landscape contract, and, yeah,
Part of the-
pond maintenance contract.
Pond maintenance contract, correct.
Yeah.
When you say $40,000, that's at one time that they'll come in and,
No, it's a yearly cost.
That's an annual
Annual
cost.
cost.
They have to go through every so many visits per month.
right, you're talking Florida,
Well, Woods and Wetlands
Woods
is
and
usually
Wetlands.
who
Okay.
does
Whoever
it.
that is.
Well,
all right.
I
But
have
there
a
should,
question.
those numbers should be known. I mean, WSI's been paying that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, well.
You know, Should.
Is HOA paying
somebody-
it?
I don't know, that
I
not
pay for-
HOA
No, I pay
necessarily.
for, HOA pays for, 3 currently. Mat-
Okay, well-
Two Matarita and one Camarel, which really isn't a.
Oh, no, who's paying for like, the one, the big one, the
Big one.
boardwalk?
One WCI.
Who?
WCI.
Could you reach out and see what you can get a cost on what they pay
Just-
for?
And Joe Smith should know the answer to that, I would think, right?
Probably,
Somewhere
David
in
Caldwell.
the
land
budget
development,
somewhere?
but.
David
They
Caldwell.
recently just
Caldwell,
spent
maybe?
like $16,000. They cleaned up that one and I think two other smaller ones.
But that's efforts to
That's the
resolve a
initial
certain,
cleanup.
what's their annual maintenance contract, is what we get hard at.
They're not in a maintenance contract annually, but what I've seen is traditionally they do, every 6 months, they do a perimeter cleaning and then they do an internal perimeter cleaning. So like the size of Mataritas is $1,800 every 6 months. With woods and wetlands, after the initial cleanup.
We could go back and look at the early contract we had with Aquagenics.
I think it was about 31,000 then.
And it had a list of the preserves in it.
Correct.
And I can't remember now what the total was, but for a while, we just left it in the contract total because WCI kept saying it was gonna be given over to us. But I think at some point y'all dropped it out of the budget, and,
We really didn't. We kept the money there.
oh.
The difference between what we were paying, which was about 87,000 a year, and what we had budgeted, which was 117,000. So that comes out, I guess that's gonna be the 30.
Yeah, 40 now.
And we just kept it in there and we did other things with it.
So it's still there.
Well, it was there,
He spent it.
but it's been, now it's been sucked up.
Well, going forward,
If we're gonna add it, we're gonna have to add it.
And do we expect it
Because
to turn over?
we have accepted other ponds in the meantime, without raising, when we did the Camarel area and the Viadana and all those, we got some new ponds, and we never increased our pond budget, we just said, the money is there, we'll just accept them. And that has done us well up until now. This year, and I just put this out, we're now gonna be getting 7 additional ponds in the Cypress Grove. So this will be the first change in that budget for 6 or 7 or 8 years now.
and it sounds like if they put that kind of money into the preserve and some other places, it wouldn't surprise me if they're getting close to a turnover, or anticipating a turnover.
When I spoke to David Caldwell, he was trying to push it third quarter this year.
So it'd start
I
right
don't
away.
know.
This is
Yeah,
about
they
the
did the
fifth
initial
The
cleanup.
or
answer should be
sixth.
no.
This is the
year.
5th or 6th quarter that I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't
We
set
started
the-
expecting, not preserves, but the ponds from Cypress Grove. We're in almost our 3rd year of this, and we don't have them yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when you talk to them, it's imminent. And then it just, nothing
Well,
happens.
you hear that, well, they're pushing for it for this
Well-
quarter and next quarter, and
Right, I mean, it's all.
But they
I
have
don't know if
finally
April has a
started
schedule.
on the checklist on the ponds, on Cypress Grove, repairing them. They've had crews out there, so they may be
They were
really
behind
getting,
my house.
they may be
Maybe
getting
getting
close
serious.
to making these next 7 come to us.
Okay.
But nothing is happening. I talked to Tetra Tech as recently as Tuesday, or last Tuesday. Nothing's happened yet, and there's been no mention of the preserves. And I haven't mentioned it, because why would I go out and try to get more expense? I'm just,
Is this part of what you asked April to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
That's
so
what
we need her to step up and tell us if she
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
good luck with getting an answer.
Getting the
Well,
answers to the
I met with her
CIs.
yesterday and she said she had no information about any turnovers. for
That
next
doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah.
But she also told me she had a lot of emails she hadn't read.
She does take time to read her.
But to answer your
emails.
question, Nancy, we don't have money in there for this. We expect it'll happen, but we don't have any money yet.
One of the things, and I raised it last year, okay, for this year, we have a budget, and it's whatever the number is, million something for this year, okay? What have we actually, or do we think we're going to spend this year? I bring it up because of things like Cypress Grove. We budgeted some 50,000-ish, it has not been transitioned,
Right.
okay? Now, not to say there aren't other expenses.
I agree. Oh, I
Okay.
agree. There's.
But we need to look at how much we budgeted, how much we think we're actually gonna spend, and see if there's any
Yeah,
revenue left over.
There's
Or not.
substantial amount, for instance, the LED light replacement, which is in this budget, we're actually gonna spend that money this year.
This year.
So maybe it should
Using
be,
some of that excess money.
Uh-huh.
And we need to look at that, maybe that's part
right.
of the budget goes down then.
There are things, right, because we will be spending that money this year. Sarah, is
But
that
the
correct?
budget, the 2017 budget is for the 18-foot poles, we're only doing 25-foot poles.
Okay,
So next year, we're doing another set of poles.
okay.
So that,
And that needs to be clear, so we know.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody asks, by the way, you've been budgeting for Cypress Grove, but you haven't been it hasn't been transitioned, you should have lots of money left over.
and that's another issue.
Well, maybe
We are
not.
budgeting for the ones that haven't been turned over, right?
I haven't
You
heard.
guys approved replacing the ones on Cypress Grove currently, the 17 poles that are 25 foot,
Yep.
And those have not been turned over.
those have not been turned over.
So,
Yeah.
so that's the question, do we go ahead with that, which I think we want to, because we pay the
Electric.
electric for
Yeah.
those. So
Yeah.
we might as well start getting the savings if we know we're gonna do it down the road anyway.
Exactly.
I haven't seen anything in here that we could pull into, or much of anything we could pull into this year's budget. If that's what the
Oh,
question.
pull
was.
into this year?
Yeah,
One of the
pull into
questions.
Well, there
2016.
there are a number of things if we go forward with some of these safety things, repainting things, and, you know, it's not, we're not talking huge money, but some of the signage things, there are things that we probably
But before
would
we
wanna
do that,
this
we
year.
need to know if there's money there.
That's right, I agree, I
Right,
absolutely
we need
agree.
to
Pay
see a
for that.
projection of trend to see what you're projecting to spend by the end of this year to know if
Yeah.
we can start doing some of those
Yeah.
things. But I definitely agree that some of these painting and pools, if we're not using anything traffic currently this year.
Yeah,
we
I think-
haven't added any signs.
We should have extra money in this year's budget, stuff that we could pull into this year.
And reduce next year's
Reduce
And
budget.
reduce next year.
Okay. Bob, you wanna take us?
Okay, what you have in front of you is what is the 2016-17 fiscal year bonds budget. And the work group met on the 16th, and this is what we are going to advance to the committee. So, the first item is our pond contract, and we go from 33 to 40 ponds increase, and it takes the annual cost up to $146,000. I will say that we are in process right now of rebidding our entire ponds package. Maybe we'll get some savings in here, but anyway, at this point in time.
What was it for this fiscal year, the one we're in?
117.
117.
So if we added 29,000 for the 7 new ponds, which is probably a little bit on the low side.
On the low
Stormwater,
side?
on the low side. Stormwater cleaning and inspection, last year we paid 26,000. We actually didn't spend a nickel of it. Now we actually have a contractor on site and he's doing it. We're projecting 60,000, which gives us about 4 weeks or 5 weeks worth of cleaning. We're spending 13,000 a week to clean. Aeration, last year was 101,000, this year's 100,000. We have, I think, 13 more ponds to do completely. We are well over the budget in this calendar year, and we will be over next year, but we're tapping into some of the $685,000 that we had from prior years we hadn't spent.
Right, I see in looking at the profit and loss for October through February, you've been spending like drunken sailors.
Yes, yes, we're having a good time. The good news about aeration is, this will be the last budget year that'll be in, 17, because we will be 100% after that.
Mhm.
So the ponds that we're receiving, the additional 7 ponds, will those already have aeration in them? Is WCI
5
doing
of the
that
7
first?
do.
So 2 of them will have to do.
So 2 we have to do, and then there's a whole bunch we didn't do with an old Pelican for a variety of reasons.
Okay.
The ones that had the fountains around the town center, the one behind Goodwill Shopping Center, the golf driving range we didn't do. So now we're trying to get everything up to the state that we're trying to go.
And then there'll be 2 in Cypress Grove that they didn't aerate.
Well, they haven't done yet, but they may.
Okay.
The good news about the WCI here, we changed the permit requirements. So like for the newest communities coming on, the 800 acres, they're doing everything. But when they transition from Jack Crate to whoever's there, when he looked at, and I'll use Pond 37 as an example, because that's the most recent, and that's the one between Carina and Azura, there's a huge pond there. They never had an obligation to put in aeration, but they're doing it. I haven't asked why, not gonna ask why. But Lake Masters got the contract and said, oh, by the way, did you know they were doing it? I said, hell no, but that's good, that saves us money.
Mhm.
They may do the same on 35 and 36. Right now, they haven't. So I factored it in, and that's in our cost. But we may avoid that cost too.
Where is 35 and 36?
35 is the golf course, Heron 9, or Ibis 9, and Azura. And then, not Azura, Solero. And then Solero to Matarita.
What-
Those are the two ponds.
Which number is that one?
35 is the closest to the golf course, 36 is the next one.
Okay, so 36 is between the two communities.
So, but even in the ponds where WCI puts aeration, it may not be up to our standards. So we're gonna have to, we expect we'll probably be doing some modification, but that's minor cost compared to what it costs to do it initially. So we may have a little bit of extra money
Yeah,
in there.
cause the electrical's in, and that's
Yes.
that's the big
The electrical's
expense.
50% of the cost.
Yeah.
All the lines are run.
50% of the cost. So anyway, I see aeration again for 17, but it won't be beyond that. But new for 17 is the aeration maintenance. And we put in, last year we had fountain repair only 8,000. So this year we got fountain and aeration at 16,000. We are putting out a contract for somebody to do aeration maintenance, and we'll continue to do what we're doing on fountains. So that's gonna bump up a little bit. The next one is $8,000 on aeration cost. We know what the electrical cost is gonna be based on the formula of our equipment times whatever, and you come out with a number. Fish gate and carp, last year we had 10,000, this year we'll be at 15, and the increase is because we're getting these 7 new ponds, we're gonna have to put fish in them and fish gates and all that kind of stuff.
And the reason we put the fish gates in,
The health of the pond.
Well,
The gates are to keep the fish
Fish
in.
in.
Yeah.
where do they come from? We put the
We
fish
buy,
in.
the fish
yeah,
in.
we buy the fish from the state.
Ah.
Carp,
The
they're
carp, they
they're
eat-
grass-eating carp.
They're grass-eating
Yeah,
carp,
yeah.
Yeah, we buy sterile carp.
sterile.
From the
Aren't
state of Florida.
goats cheaper?
They don't swim.
They don't swim.
And they crap in the water.
So do the
And we're
fish.
trying to clean them.
Oh, no, the fish don't. We have sterile fish, John.
Sterile, they don't
They
do
don't
that.
crap in our water.
I didn't know we bought fish.
Oh, yeah,
Keep the
we do.
pond
Yeah,
clean.
yeah. All
Okay.
sorts of things you're gonna find out about this.
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
All right.
You get a fishing rod though, once you're.
Okay, vine control stays the same at 20,000, and that's about what we're spending. Littorals, we have dropped significantly in order to try and stay within a reasonable budget. So we went from 30,000 to 3, and 3 should pretty much keep the one pilot area we've got. Okay, washout repairs, 25,000, that stays the same each year. That's really not enough, but it is what it is. Pond erosion, we had 50,000 last year, we've got 100,000 this year, because between pond slope and erosion, we spend about 100,000 a year. But we've lumped them, so basically last year we had this year we had pond erosion and pond slope at 100, next year we just have erosion at 100, the same money. And then the last item is the web portal, which is the initiative that we're undertaking to digitize everything and have it available to the Alliance as well as to our residents. And the initial contract that this board approved was 30,000. I'm assuming that 5 a year is gonna maintain it, I would think that. So our budget basically goes from 442 to 498.
The 442 sticks.
And most of it has to be explained by the additional ponds that we're taking
Yeah.
from. Now, we discussed in the work group how we were gonna cover downspouts. And I know we have a separate initiative to try and get money out of the bond fund and all those things. And however that shakes out, if we get the money, great, we never put downspouts in here. But if we don't, we need to be creative and figure out a way of how to do this. It'll be a multi-year project. And basically, we'd put erosion and slope bank on a side pocket and go forward with the downspout, because we have to control the washouts, or we'll be forever chasing our tail, trying to keep the pond slopes right.
How about Bob, how about the back money, if you will, the money that we did?
Yes, back money, as of the end of March, I still had $373,925.
Okay,
in
is
back
some of
money.
would some of that be available for the downspout problem?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. We have reached the end, or very close to the end, of our studies for washout and erosion, but they were all done in 2012. We need to redo this and bring it up to speed, up current. But the greater concern to me personally has been the lack of inspection of our sewers, because we don't want to get back to the point where we're flooding.
Yeah.
So that's why we're putting our money in that basket right now. As soon as that's completed, and I expect that to be completed probably by the end of this week, maybe the end of next week.
Is this the work in the towers? doing?
Yes.
Oh, so did they finish, you gave them to?
I gave them the list and they're working. I
Yeah,
go
but
see them
you-
every day.
You gave them to Gateway for a period of time, right? You let,
Gateway asked for them, they never went.
oh,
Gateway hasn't used them for whatever reason, I haven't talked to April about it.
Oh,
But we
okay.
gave them permission to pull away from here and go there. That
Okay.
hasn't happened yet.
okay.
But they are just about through their work list. So once they're finished, we're gonna cut off that portion of it, but then we'll probably get into some inspection work, whether it's them or Marsh Raleigh or whoever gives us the best deal. These people say they can do it, Met Hair. I went and saw their equipment, it's excellent. The quality of the videos is wonderful. I think they have bought all of the specialized equipment they need to do Pelican, because when they started, they didn't have 18-inch plugs, and they didn't have 24-inch plugs. And if you don't plug it, it's very hard to clean. So they now have all that, so we're basically paying for them to become a full-service supplier to them. I was very happy last night when the rain came, that when I rode to tennis this morning, and that's why I was late playing tennis, that we didn't have a flood at the town center.
Ah.
Now, they cleaned that for Joe Smith.
Progress.
Joe gave him $30,000, and they did it, so apparently it worked.
Yeah, oh, great.
Now, they're pulling out a lot of particulate out of our ponds, or out of the piping. But some of these pipes they're cleaning, we had at a 40% blockage in 2012, and what they're telling me is they're more like 75% or 80%. So they've grown, the blockage has grown, which just highlights the need for the periodic inspection and cleaning. So,
Drainage pipes include the drains at the edge of our houses and the curbs?
No.
not on your grass, but the grading in the street
In this, it's
Back
on the
to the bottom.
curb, there's grates
Right.
that catches the rainwater.
off the street.
That's
That may
what's
come off the grade.
being
too.
inspected?
Yes.
What if we have builders and contractors, and I'm not just referring to WCI, who are dumping concrete down those drains?
Call me.
I'm calling you.
Dump-
I
Dumping
want to call
concrete?
for that immediately.
Yep,
They shouldn't be putting anything there. Matter of fact,
They
in an area
can't.
where they're doing construction, they're supposed to erect barriers. so that
I'm
nothing goes
building
in.
a pool, and 3 of my neighbors watch them dump concrete down the drain. And I said,
So
I got.
send me an email, Jan, I can put a camera in that thing tonight.
Okay,
If there's concrete there, we'll go after somebody.
thank you.
Wow.
So that is our budget. We tried very hard to keep it the same.
That's tough to clean.
And,
Yeah?
Yeah, but it's easy to sue. It's concrete there, we
Take a
can find
brush
that
and
out.
pipe and clean the concrete out.
So that is the budget.
Okay.
So
as we
that's
see it.
about $22 or so an ERU at 2,500 ERU,
Yeah,
on top of
on top of everything else.
everything else.
And then, the last item we have, of course, is, in effect, the overhead
Right, that gets added.
that gets
That's
added.
another 8%.
For
And,
CDD.
and those numbers, this last year, and I checked them, went up about 10% from 2015 to 2016. So, I'm hoping, so that could be another problem for us.
Yeah, because they're adding staff over here.
Oh, yeah, I
Crazy.
know, and as I say, even, and now, from here to 2017, and I'm sure it'll increase again, but it was a substantial increase, it was about 10%. Now, it isn't a big chunk of the budget, but it's there.
That's probably one of the items that I'm talking about that I pull from their reports.
Exactly, that's what
that
you have to do.
I can't even estimate what,
Yes,
I mean, it's
right.
made up of a ton of things.
Yeah.
Payroll, all kinds of
Right,
things.
also
Yeah.
legal, all
kinds of
sorts of
Yeah.
things. Stephen ought to be able to provide you at least with the top level numbers that he's put in already.
Okay.
That he's given them. That would be a starting, that would be a starting point.
Well, I don't know if everybody sees the budget reports monthly, but they're very interesting. I mean, how much we pay Tetra Tech, how much we pay Tony. It's all listed in
Oh,
there
yeah,
every
it's all
month.
there.
Well, and understand, we've got some money in there that is part of the 10% or 8% or overhead or whatever that is ours. But we also, if we use Tony, and
Tony.
we've all used Tony for a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
I've been talking to Tetra Tech on a couple of things, as Bob has, those are over and above and get charged.
Yes.
Correct, they're special.
They're special.
Every month, that's what I was talking about. Every
Yeah.
month we
Yeah,
get them.
yeah, yeah. And we-
So anytime you talk to them, they bill us for that?
Oh,
Every month?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You call them, they write.
Yep.
Bob, how does this fit into this?
Well,
It doesn't really.
It does.
doesn't really.
Severn
It's a
Trent
separate-
adds our, we have two components. Call it the Chris and the budget component. Nancy, now the Nancy component, and then bonds. I don't know how they grew up
Bonds, and
separately,
then,
but they
and
always
then
did.
there's this overhead stuff, and it all shows up on a bigger.
Yeah.
When
I-
you see the Severn Trent budget, you'll see it in there, it's there.
Shouldn't we be including this in this?
No, because what it is that, this, what we talked about for a long time, is the HOA contract agreements and what we do. The ponds, and preserves, when we get them, will be part of the gateway budget. So there, it'll all be part of,
CDD,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
okay.
so there's two components
Okay.
to what Pelican pays.
And,
Thank you.
And
every
the-
month, I get the report from Severn Trent, what they paid, and then I post that, and that includes the ponds, what they spent, because they pay directly to ponds. And so I take it from there, and then all of the overhead expenses I take from their budget too, and the income. I mean, I get the income from their monthly.
And all of those things added together, all of those expenses, what's here, the ponds, and these overhead things, all go into making up what we eventually bill to our, all the residents, what you pay in your taxes. It includes all of that stuff.
And what we do here actually is gonna flow into the Severn Trent overall budget
Budget.
For the CDD.
For the CDD.
for the CDD.
Yeah.
To the last thing that was discussed at bonds was if the preserves come to us or propose to come to us. And if it doesn't happen before this budget is approved, then what we would propose back to WCI is we'll take it in day one of fiscal year 18. Keep it for one more year, allow us to transition and then include it in
Yeah.
budget for it.
Right,
Because-
we haven't, they've never come to us with a
Correct.
proposal.
So that's what we would say to
haven't
Sarah
budgeted
and
for-
anybody else.
Yeah, and effectively,
Gotta
we
give us
are,
a unit
we
budget.
are paying for our share of that anyway, right? As,
No, they're paying for all of it.
No, WCI's paying that.
no,
directly.
that's right, WCI's paying.
They're paying all of
WCI's
that.
paying that
So
directly.
since they haven't told us in a timely manner that it's coming to us,
Yeah.
we'd ask for 1 year forgiveness, and we'll put it in our 18 budget.
And if that doesn't happen,
Well, then
that's
back
about
up.
another $13.
Should anybody be using Roundup inside the preserve?
nothing should be used.
No,
in it.
Nothing.
uh-uh,
Nothing.
no.
Nothing.
Somebody come to me, a resident came to me about a month ago now and said she was at the little dead end in the preserve. They had Roundup containers strapped to the trees back there with a hose into the water.
To the water?
That
Yeah.
pollutes the
I
whole
don't think they were
system.
pumping it out, I think they've been using Roundup back there, and when they quit to go to lunch or whatever, they just, the hose just, but I don't know what they would be using Roundup. She said it was strapped to
Shouldn't
two trees,
There shouldn't
and
be
she
anything
showed me,
done in the preserve.
yeah, she showed me where it was at, and she.
You can't even walk in here.
I know, she went, well, they were down in there, cause they had to be in there to strap it to the trees.
Is it possible that they were just using them as containers for something else?
Well, she went to Joe and he couldn't give her an answer. So then
Unless
she came
it's-
to me and asked me
Could
if
it
I
be
could
woods
do
and
it.
wetland?
Yeah, could
Something?
it be woods and wetland?
They're the only ones that are allowed in the
I
preserve.
don't know. I don't know, but they were
And-
Roundup, they said Roundup right on, cause the Roundup containers are labeled, and they were labeled Roundup containers.
I mean, technically, and we went through this early on, and maybe it's time to think about a reminder to people, but early on, when we talked to South Florida Water Management, I mean, you can't even break a twig off,
No.
let alone plant something in there or
Yeah.
kill something in there. If you've got a tree that's behind your house that is dead and might fall on your house, you have to go through an application process to
Right,
get it
to
rid
take
of
the
it.
tree out.
Yeah,
Oh, there's some pretty stiff fines for violating too. They treat this quite seriously.
Yeah.
Well,
South Florida.
she did not get a satisfactory answer from Joe, so she asked me if I knew anything about it. In fact,
Send me your
Sarah, do you
email,
know
and
if
I'll
any-
go see it.
No,
okay.
no. The only contracted work that I know of is woods and wetland, that WCI contracted for the main preserve, but they weren't doing anything in the Solaro.
No, this isn't in Solaro, this is in the main
The
preserve.
main preserve. Well, they
Main
were
preserve,
contracted to go out there
at
and
that
do
little
something.
dead end where you have the circle at the end, it was on two trees back there.
Cause I was in there a week ago.
This
with
was
my
probably a
granddaughter.
month ago, because I.
It actually looks pretty good. Most of the thallium has died off.
Alligator flag is
Yeah,
dying
that's
off.
the alligator flag thallium, yeah.
I went in there because of that
That's
and
okay.
cleaned the pond.
Yeah,
Back there.
nice.
Okay,
Okay.
any further discussions on the budget? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the
I,
meeting.
I do have a question on
Yeah.
item number 4. Is that fixed for sure at 2 p.m. for the next meeting on May 12th?
Yes. Why, is that a problem?
It is.
Well, you know.
It's my birthday weekend and
Okay.
all my family's flying out.
Well,
Well, you can bring them.
Bring 'em
We got a lot of
along.
seats. You can bring cake for us.
Bring the cake,
Ooh, ooh,
bring the
ooh.
cake, all the stuff, yeah, that's.
That's
Or
our
maybe we should have
standard.
birthday cake
Our
for
sta-
you.
Our standard meeting is the second Thursday at.
Yeah,
that's
I,
8 o'clock.
I don't wanna miss it, but.
Yeah, well, we understand, but.
Well, you replace
it
a curb,
happens.
there's no
Well,
problem.
here's a thought, here's a thought, Jan.
What?
If you go on, if you have a little bit of free time while they're here, you don't have to come to the meeting,
Yeah.
but you can go on
Log
to
in.
Gateway
Oh,
and
that's right.
watch it live
You can watch
streaming.
us.
I saw that on an earlier email, but don't you have to allow the streaming in somehow?
It's,
No, no,
it's out there.
camera's right
It's
there.
right now, you're being,
We're being live
We're being
streamed.
You're on
watched.
TV.
you're to the world.
We're being
Oh, by the
watched.
way.
I will caution you.
Bad
when-
hair day.
When you miss a meeting, you will get assignments.
That's kind of a rule of thumb on boards, I know
Yeah.
that one, but trust me, I will be doing my fair share.
Mr. Chairman, I will not be here for that meeting, I'm gonna be in China, so.
Oh, you'll phone in, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
2 o'clock Chinese time.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, do we have a quorum?
Yeah.
You're not here, are you?
1, 2.
I will be here, I'm staying for that meeting.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
You'll
we'll
be
have-
here, Nancy,
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
Okay, we got 5.
I think
We got
we're good.
5.
I'll be here.
And Nancy will be here, okay. So, the next meeting will be May 12th, motion to adjourn?
So moved,
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.
okay.
All right,
How did we
Bill,
get the
do you-
fire impact fee in the budget?
Because I had, if you read, I asked for it because,
Well, I just
Make
wanna
it
know the
Bill,
blame.
Bill,
You.
huh?
I just wanna know the blame.
Yeah.
It was you, okay.
With what, Bill Guy asked that, as,
You didn't read your report.
you didn't read my report, the GSCDD meeting.
We all knew.
The problem, we know you don't read any of the stuff we send you.
The only thing that's important is bonds. Go ahead.
That's right,
Yeah, obviously.
that's right. It's
But he
ponds
wanted a
and other.
recommendation.
But,
That's what it was, okay.
but, yeah, and it's because they wanted to do it fast, because as he said, every time they pull a permit, and we haven't sold them, that's a house
Gone.
lost.
Okay.
That's a house lost, so they
Sounds
asked.
like a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win for us, period.
What do we have to report to the CDD on the 5th?
On the 5th, I'm writing a
Oh.
report.
Yeah, you're gonna write a report.
I will
Okay.
do a report, and I will send you a
Send it to
copy.
me.
Are you doing that meeting?
I have the 5th.
I may go
Okay,
also.
I'm back.
I gotta go see April, none of them back. You need a ride or something?
No,
Oh.
the